Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha, and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, today I'm coming to you with wet hair because I'm mad. Sorry, we'll get into the video in a second, but I saw a video on Instagram and it was like bouncy bob tutorial, like super easy. I followed it and it looked awful. It looked so bad that I wet my hair again. I didn't wash it again, but I just made it wet because I couldn't deal with it. So I'm mad and I could not be bothered to then blow dry my hair again because I already blow dried it to then curl it. It was a whole thing. Luckily it didn't take too long to do all that, but yeah, I'm like, I can't bother to do anything else with it. So coming to you with slightly wet hair. Apologies. But anyway, today we're going to be doing a little bit of a TBR Tackle check-in before we start doing episodes for 2026. I did only just recently post my last episode of 2025, which was episode 8, which I did actually stop filming in November, but I then just didn't post it until January because it took me that long to edit it. We're back. But I thought it would be good to kind of do a bit of a reintroduction to TBR Tackle and also like go over what books we actually have on there, because towards the end of 2025 I had the realization I wasn't going to read all the books on my TBR, so I was like, okay, let's curate the list a little bit. So I took out a bunch of stuff, and then the number was obviously much smaller, but that wasn't actually like a true reflection of how many unread books I have, because obviously I curated the list, so I took some stuff off. And basically that just made like keeping track of everything very difficult. So for 2026 we're going to start with this video, and this video is going to be the starting point. This is how many books we actually have on there. I've already curated it. And basically when I say I've curated it, I've literally just taken off books where, first of all, I think it would be really boring to vlog. So like, I don't want to do it in a specific TBR Tackle episode. Like, I'll read it in my own time, but I don't want to try and have to make content out of it. So yeah, anything that I think is going to be boring. And also books that are sequels in a series, obviously, but like much later on in a series where I haven't even read the first book. For example, I have a book by Robin Hobb. It's set in the realm of the Elderlings series, but somewhere in the series, I don't know where. Is that the name of the overarching series? I don't know, but whatever. You know, it started with Assassin's Apprentice, but there's like 4 trilogies or whatever it is. I don't know. I haven't started my Robin Hobb journey yet, so I'm not sure. But I do have a short story collection, which goes somewhere in there, but it's like at least 6 books deep. Then you read the short stories. And so I am not going to commit to getting to that. So I've taken that one off. Basically, that's what I mean when I say I've curated the list. Yeah, I thought we would go over it now. And then I will, obviously, if I purchase anything throughout the year, I will add it to the list so the number can still go up. But to start off 2026, we are starting the year with 14 fiction books on the TBR and 11 nonfiction. So that brings us to a total of 25 books. Last year, another thing I did was I took off all of my nonfiction because I was like, that's going to be boring to vlog. So it's going to be a bit of a different approach to nonfiction. I still want to include it in the tally. I still want to make sure I'm reading it, but I'm not necessarily going to be vlogging reading nonfiction because it might not be the most interesting. Let me know if I'm wrong. Yeah, the approach with nonfiction is going to be a little bit different, but I want to include it in the total number. So yeah, in total, we have 25 books on the TBR, which I think is doable because I don't know how many I read last year specifically for TBR Tackle, but I think I was averaging 3 books per episode. I filmed 8 episodes, so 24 books. So yeah, it was pretty much on track. Hopefully I will be better about posting my episodes more frequently, but we'll see. That's kind of where we end up with 2025 and then going into 2026 where we're starting. And I thought it would also be fun to go over what books are on my TBR. Like, let's just go over my entire physical TBR. It won't take too long. There are only 25 of them. I'm just gonna break it down into nonfiction and then the fiction books, and then you'll see everything I have. You can tell me what to prioritize. If you have any ideas for themes that you want me to do, let me know. I'm probably gonna do some themed ones, and then any ones where I don't have a theme, I'll just do like a spinner wheel or something like that. But yeah, if you think of a specific theme, let me know. Maybe I'll do it. I thought we'd just go over everything I have, and then at the end I'm just going to explain like how we're going to work going forward, which I kind of already did. But yeah, let's get into all of the nonfiction that is on my physical TBR. So first of all, I have 2 books about Jane Austen, because of course I do. I have Jane Austen at Home by Lucy Worsley, and I also have this book called The Real Jane Austen by Paula Byrne. And then most of the other books I have are about language because I'm a language nerd, but I do have a few others sprinkled in here. Let's just go over them. I have Talk to the Hand by Lynn Truss, which is about the utter bloody rudeness of everyday life, or 6 Good Reasons to Stay Home and Bolt the Door. Eat, Shoots and Leaves, also by Lynn Truss, which is about punctuation. There was a time when I thought I was going to be a teacher, so I bought a bunch of books about English. I will read them for fun also because I like it. So then we have Mother Tongue, The Surprising History of Women's Words by Jenny Nuttall. This has been on my TBR since 2023 or 2024. Far too long, essentially. Okay, the last two books about language, we have Spell It Out by David Crystal and How Language Works, also by David Crystal. And then all of the rest of them are just like random. I have So You Want to Talk About Race by Gilma Luo. I have 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. And I have a little bit of a TBR vet. I have Powerful by Maisie Hill, which is all about like dealing with your stress hormones, which if you know me, this is maybe something I should have prioritized before. Like, I actually did start this, and funnily enough, I read the first 2 chapters. The second one's on procrastination, and then I've procrastinated reading the rest of this book. But I will get to it. Then the last one is so random, so rogue. I just saw it and was like, I want to read that. And that is The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs by Steve Brusatte. I have never really had that much interest in dinosaurs, but I wanted to read this. Because you know what? I know barely anything about dinosaurs. Maybe I should know more. Who knows? Those are the 11 nonfiction books on my TBR. Okay, and now on to the fiction. I've split this into 3 genres. We have romance, we have fantasy / one sci-fi, and then we have like literary or contemporary. So with the literary contemporary, that's the smallest pile. I have I Am a Cat by Natsume Soseki, and this is very short, so I really should get to this. I think it's less than 200 pages. And then I also have Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. She wrote my favorite book of last year, Hello Beautiful, and I really want to read this, but I know I'm probably gonna cry. So I'm like giving myself a little bit more time to like emotionally prepare myself. I think I'm also gonna read this with my friends, so I need to see when they want to read it. But anyway, this is gonna be part of TBR Tackle, and I said I wasn't gonna talk about the books too much, and here we are, we're yapping. Anyway, next we have a little romance stack. So I have a classic, which is Sanditon by Jane Austen, which is actually Jane Austen's like short stories that she wrote, which I didn't know existed. Very clearly I'm a fake fan, even though I have 2 nonfictions about her life, but have I read them? No. But yeah, I saw this in a bookstore in December and it was £4 and I was like, I want it. Anyway, this is not a book haul. I'm just supposed to tell you what the books are. We also have Gloves Off by Stephanie Archer. I do want to read books 2 and 3 before I get to this one. And you might be thinking, didn't you read book 1 and not enjoy it? Why, yes, that's true. But that was like the first book, so I want to see if the next books are better. I've heard they get better. I got this on sale, so it's here. I bought it. It's too late. I have Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt. Ignore the bookmark. It will be read soon. We also have Just Playing House by Farrah Heron. Finally, The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. I've been dying to read something by Catherine Center because I heard that she's like good if you like Emily Henry. And if you know me, I'm an Emily Henry girly, so hopefully I can get to that soon. Anyway, and then on to the last stack of sci-fi fantasy. Starting with sci-fi, I have The Ministry of Time by Kayleigh Bradley. Then I have Fragile Threads of Power by V. Schwab, which does in fact mean I have to reread A Dark Shade of Magic series first, but I do want to get to this one in 2026. I've been putting it off for too long. Then I have Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. I am nervous about this one. Also, I hate the new covers. Like, I actually prefer this. Like, I'd rather have this brooding man on my cover than the current ones, which just have the text on them, and they literally look like when the book has been announced, but the cover is still like to be determined. And I literally thought that was the case with Brimstone. And then Brimstone came out and it looked the same as what I saw online. And I was like, wait, what? That's the actual cover? Maybe unpopular opinion, but I prefer this. I haven't read it yet, so I don't even know if I'm going to read Brimstone, but anyway. Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Malice by John Gwynne. And then, of course, we have books 2 and 3 in the Mistborn trilogy. And I do have to reread book 1, but it's technically not a TBR book. Those are all of my fantasy books on my TBR. And yeah, that's everything. Those are all of the books that I have to read, which does seem like a lot, especially considering some of these are pretty chunky. But you know what? I know I can do it, and I'm trying not to be intimidated by books this year as much as I was last year. I feel like I started out well and just like reading what I wanted to read and like not worrying too much about page counts and stuff like that. But then as the year went on, I got more obsessed with like, I need to be finishing more books, you know? Not that I think that was that evident in my reading, but like in my mind, I was like, I'm reading too slowly. Anyway, that brings me on to how we're going to be doing TBR Tackle this year. So obviously, as I mentioned, I do want to read all of the nonfiction on my TBR, but I don't want to include it in TBR Tackle episodes like as a dedicated, you know, segment of the video per each book. Because knowing me and how I read nonfiction, I don't want to commit myself to finishing a nonfiction book every month, but I do want to make sure I'm reading more nonfiction. So something I'm trying to implement is reading one chapter of nonfiction every day. And I've been pretty successful so far, and I've really been enjoying it. But something I have noticed is that if I'm reading the same book, I do tend to get a little bit bored, although it could have also just been the book that I was reading. So I don't want to be like, oh, I'm definitely going to finish this entire book in 1 month, because it might be that I read half of one nonfiction book, then get a little bit bored and just want kind of a change of pace, and then pick up another nonfiction book and then come back to the first one a month later, you know? So I hope that made sense. That feels like a lot of rambling. But basically, I'm still going to be reading nonfiction from my TBR. I'm going to be including it in the TBR Tackle number, but I might just do a little check-in, let you know what I'm reading in terms of nonfiction at the moment, but don't expect like a full review of that book, because I might not finish it in that one video. Because I'm also going to try and be a bit better about my timelines, because that was something that fell off the wagon in 2025, was that the videos were supposed to be monthly. There was supposed to be one TBR Tackle every month, and then it just completely fell apart because I was just taking too long to finish the books, which sometimes happens, you know? I do want to try and be better about like, okay, I want to post the TBR Tackle video in like the middle of the month and like try and commit to that in my mind. I'm not committing that to you. I'm committing it to myself, because if I fall off the wagon, at least then I'm only disappointing myself. Not you, because I didn't promise it to you. Anyway, and then as I kind of said before, I'm probably going to stick to like the same sort of format of having 2 to 3, sometimes more books per video, fiction books. So in theory, if I only have 14 books, that should only take us like 5 episodes to get through those, but we will see, because obviously also the nonfiction. But yeah, I think if I get down to the point where I only have nonfiction left, I think we can call it a success, and I'll still just obviously focus on reading that. But we'll also see. We'll see what books I end up collecting this year. I'm trying to be better. One of my goals for this year is to only buy 12 new books. And when I say new books, I mean books that I haven't read, like books that are adding to the TBR. If I want to rebuy something that I've already read from the library and don't own physically, or I read it on my Kindle and I really feel like I need to own it physically, then I will allow that, and I'm not going to count that within the 12 books. But yeah, 12 books can be added to the TBR this year, as in I bought them myself. Obviously, if they're gifted to me, that's different. But yeah, that's kind of a rule that I'm setting out for myself. So yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. Like I said, if you have any suggestions for me of themes, games, like if I can gamify it, like I might do another like 24-hour and see how many books I can read in 24 hours, or like a spinner wheel chooses how many hours I read a day or something like that. I don't know, something like that. Although I remember I did one of those last year and it failed miserably. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. This was just a little TBR check-in, see how we're gonna go this year. Spoiler, if you want it, my first episode is gonna go up in February, hopefully before Valentine's Day, and it is gonna be reading 3 romance books from my TBR. And then beyond that, I don't have any plans. And the first nonfiction book I'm gonna be reading from my TBR, I think I already said, is Powerful, because I've already started it, and I feel like I should maybe continue it, because do I need help? Maybe. Yeah, that's all I have for this video. I'm going to shut up and let you go. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below and let me know how many books you have on your physical TBR. I would love to know. But that's all I have, so I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye!